So hopefully you've had an opportunity to view the first video, which really talks about what a legacy environment is, as illustrated here. And now we're going to talk about what an automated environment looks like. And we're going to let this screen go ahead and build out. Notice that we took away the provision, configure, and establish, and we're throwing those all under what we call a software-defined environment. And through that software-defined environment, it's going to reach out to those hardware components. And then we're going to establish in this environment a unified API. And we're going to go ahead and scratch out those APIs up at the top there and represent here that we have this unified API that's going to communicate between the hardware. And then let's go ahead and for conversation's sake, let's go ahead and throw in some of that software as well, because this API impacts the software as well, because we have to be able to communicate. Let's say we're using containers, we're going to need to communicate with Docker. We're using virtualization, we're going to need to communicate with, for example, VMware, or maybe we're establishing a cloud. We're going to need to have that relationship with that cloud. Here illustrated is OpenStack. So all of these things implemented together make this declared need. So we talked about in our legacy environment how the management of that environment was very individual, right? We provision, we take care of all of those tasks, set up the forwarding plane, set up the data plane, set up the routing tables. We configure switches and ports to be optimized for specific applications. All of those things occur when we're setting up the network environment. When we configure the server, we're configuring the operating system, the virtualization, we're configuring the security, all of those things that are required in order for that server to be secure and to be functional. We have to set up, and of course, whatever that application is. And of course, within a storage environment, we're going to be setting up the LUNs, backup recovery, and all of the things required in order for that storage to do its business. In a software-defined environment, we establish policies, rules, consistency, repeatability when it comes to how we manage this infrastructure that we have that's providing this declared need from our user. And that user declared need, by the way, could be anything. Here we're just representing it as generic software, but it could be email, could be a specific application to the environment, whatever it is, it's a declared need. And so when we use software defined, we set up these policies that perform these tasks that we talked about earlier on this specific hardware, as well as software and other things. But a lot of the times when we talk about software defined, we're talking about software defined storage, software defined networking, and we're talking about the relationship in between all of these components. So here we talk on the relationship perspective, really talking about a unified relationship, something that's managing it from a centralized location and establishing these relationships. This is huge because it's going to take out a lot of that management layer, a lot of that software that we're trying to get to work with one another, and really we're putting infrastructure really as a coded solution. Imagine that we could establish both management as well as the functionality of our declared need, whatever the technology needed to provide the declared need, all through automation. And that is the future of where IT is going to go. We're going to continue to see this trend over the next several years where we're starting to collapse all of these processes, all of these things that we did manually. We're going to see a collapse of that into unified systems. And some of those key words that you may see in the industry are things like converged or composable infrastructure or synergy. All of these type of infrastructures paint the complete picture. What we have to be careful of are these siloed solutions that may only do hyper-converged, for example, and that's all they do. We have to have that bigger picture, the picture that allows for this automation to occur within our environment and truly give us an automated infrastructure.